All right, so Scott, you can
Yeah, go ahead. On to the next.
All right.
I think I'm the first one up. Okay, now I've got a real mixture this time and of pictures, and most of them are going to be from zoos. I visited like 4 different zoos this year, and so I thought I'd share mainly portraits of some of the animals that I photographed. But I do have a couple of things at the end that were oddities that I came across this year that I just wanted to share with everybody. So we'll go ahead and if you can go to the next one. Okay, this just an African lion. And I've got down here the zoo that the animal was from, but this is from our local zoo. So then this was down at the Guadalajara Zoo. If you ever have a chance to go down there, it's quite an impressive facility they have there. And I didn't get to see all of it. It was so big, but they do have a nice aquarium there. This was one of the fish in there. Okay. Cheetah, Houston Zoo. And okay. This is a sample of the chimpanzees that they have at the LA Zoo. And I guess I'd never really thought about how individual each of them is until I was down there looking at them. But they each have their own personalities and their own look. And it was really fun watching them for a while. Okay. This was down at the Houston Zoo, a green oropendola. They have the nice aviary there that you can walk in. This is one of the birds they had in there. Okay. Back to El Paso, this is our local jaguar. It was really nice watching it this particular day. It was very active and walking around. And so I had a good time with that. Next. The Los Angeles Zoo, Nicobar pigeon. I really liked the way the feathers kind of curve around on this, and the light just seemed really neat. So, okay. And Houston Zoo again. The lemurs there were very photogenic and out in the open, so I had a good time with them. Next. Also at the Houston Zoo, this wattled curassow. Really neat bird. And this one happened to perch on a limb not too far from me, so I was able to get some nice shots of it. And next. Back here in El Paso, one of our siamangs. This was first time I had ever seen them really sitting out there while I've been there. So I enjoyed it. Nice pensive look. Next. Okay, now the next couple of slides are going to be some unusual things that I came across. I was out at Boca Chica Beach near Brownsville. And as I was walking towards the mouth of the Rio Grande, I saw this red-eared slider, which is a freshwater turtle walking out into the ocean, which threw me for a loop. And I talked with a Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist who specializes in turtles, and he said he had maybe heard of it one other time. But I just thought it was really odd that a freshwater turtle would go into salt water. And I never did see it come out, so I guess it was okay. I don't know. And next. Okay, now this was in Wrestler Arroyo, Joaquin Teschner Nature Preserve. And I was walking along and saw this mass back in a clump of climbing milk vine. And I think if you click it again, Kevin, it'll go to a video. Yeah. So this is what I saw. And this is something I'd never seen before either. So this is a caterpillar down below here. You can see it sticking out. And I contacted an entomologist here in Texas, and he told me that these are braconid wasp larvae. And apparently what they do is they will lay their eggs inside the caterpillar. And then when they are ready to pupate, to metamorphose, they dig their way out or eat their way out and form this sort of Medusa-like mass on the outside of the caterpillar. If you can go to the next. And this was taken the day after I took that first one where you could see the caterpillar. So within that 24-hour period, all of those wasp larvae had turned into the pupa, which are those little whitish balls or cylinders that are in there. And you can see that the caterpillar is gone. I don't know what happened to it. It just completely disappeared. And next. And I took 2, 3 or 4 of these little pupal cases out and took them home, put them in a little container. And about 3 or 4 days later, a few of them hatched. And this is the wasp that came out, a little braconid. I haven't figured out which one it is, but it's one of the parasitoid wasp in Braconidae. And you can see next to it some of the pupal cases open. So just something I thought was odd. So that's it for me. Go on to the next one. Okay, so Michael Kolstad sent some pictures in, and he wasn't able to make it here tonight. So he asked me to say something about a few of the slides. So this is just a sample of some of the things that he saw down at the Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge. Next. Next. And we'll go to the next. Now this one, he had mentioned that he saw this one bird with a stick in its bill. And then if you go to the next one, another one flew in. And the way Michael told it, this one with the stick that was in the first picture went to give the stick to the bird on the right, and it didn't want it. So it dropped it. And Michael thought it was some sort of a nest building offering that was rejected, but that was his best guess. So, okay, next. Okay, then, okay, this is a neotropic cormorant, really nice portrait of one. Shows it in greeny plumage. Here's another view. Okay, next. And this one, Michael, when he first saw the bird up there, he thought it looked quite odd. And he was surprised at how well the body of the one in the back melded into the one in the front. And he thought it was like a 2-headed black vulture. So you can go to the next. Here's one by itself. And the next. And this was Michael's last shot. He just wanted to show a local bird, wish everybody a Merry Christmas. So that's Michael's offering there. Okay, Star.
Okay, so these were all lifers for me this year. It was a really good year for me, actually. This is a green kingfisher I saw down at Big Bend National Park while I was out there doing astrophotography. My first time seeing a green kingfisher. Next. A Lucifer hummingbird down in Terlingua at Christmas Mountain Oasis. Also lifer for me. This was a round trip for me to get to Terlingua. So 5 hours there and 5 hours back, but totally worth it. Next. This is a bronzed cowbird. I saw this down with Bill Sane when we did the Great Texas Birding Classic, the first time I've ever seen this bird, and I really liked how cool it looks with its red eyes. This was down in Ozona, Texas. Next. the yellow-billed loon that was here in Ascarate Park. I hope everyone got a chance to see it. Next. The red-faced warbler down in Porto, Arizona. One of the many lifers I got to see down there. Next. The elegant trogon, again, that was the main reason I went down to Porto, Arizona, and I got to see it. So I was a happy birder. Next. The blue-throated mountain gem, also in Cave Creek, Porto, Arizona. Next. The brown crested flycatcher, this was in Madera Canyon in Arizona. Next. The Rivoli's hummingbird, also in Madera Canyon at the feeders by the Hummingbird Lodge. Next. The varied bunting, also in Madera Canyon in Arizona. Next. The broad-billed hummingbird, also in Madera Canyon, Arizona. I spent a lot of time in Arizona this year. Next. Also in, actually this was Cave Creek. This is a band-tailed pigeon, but this was Cave Creek. Next. My very first calliope hummingbird at Dripping Springs. This was at a photography workshop I took there, so very happy birder. Next. The common blackhawk, this was down at Percha Dam a couple of months ago. Next. The black-legged kittiwake down at Ascarate. I'm not sure if this one's still there, but it was hanging around for quite some time. Next. Oh, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to present here. I'm from Las Cruces with the Mesilla Valley Audubon Society. Okay. So just wanted to say, okay, that's the burrowing owl at Ascarate Park. Next. Okay, that's a common black hawk at Leesburg State Park in Las Cruces. Yeah. Next, please. Western tanager in my backyard. Next one, please. Yeah, great horned owl here in Las Cruces. This particular species one is nesting at this location for about last 8 years now. So it was pretty nice to see him out in the open like that. Way after sunset, pretty dark light. Next one, please. Indigo bunting at one of the workshops we did at Dripping Springs. It was a very special visitor at that time. Next one, please. Painted bunting at Leesburg Dam State Park again, close to Las Cruces during the summer. Next one, please. Yep, sandhill crane, Boscadella Apache, of course. Next one, please. I think it's a sage thrush, not sure, at Dripping Springs again. Next one, please. Cooper's hawk. Next one. Okay, so Anna's hummingbird in El Paso around Robinson's Road, that area. You walk into the canyon a little bit. This is about 2 weeks ago. Okay, thank you. Next one, please. Pyraloxia, the backyard. Next one, please. Ringneck pheasant and Bosque del Apache. Next one. Cedar waxwing at also Dripping Springs. Next one, please. Yeah, burrowing owls again at Scarate Park. The next one. Great Kiskadee at Leesburg State Park. It was here last year around this time. It stayed here throughout winter and up to about March. It was a pretty special one. Next one, please. Yep, thank you.
All right. This is, let me say from the outset that my photos are basically for documentation, and they're in no way artistic like Condon's or Star's or any number of other folks, but here it is. This, I'm really proud of this photograph though, because this bird had been 300 yards out on a couple of visits. And on this particular visit, I came around a corner and the bird was at about 30 yards. This is a red phalarope, which is exceedingly rare. It's actually a Texas review species. And this should be on the open Pacific, but it's an immature and managed to get lost, show up in El Paso, stayed for a little while. Next. This is a spotted rail. This is the first or second US, I think the first record was found dead in a parking lot. So this may be the first live spotted rail. It's a Central American species, and it wandered into South Texas, and I gave chase and managed to get this photograph of a very rare bird. It's probably, like I said, the first living spotted rail in the United States. Next. On that same trip, there's a great bird blind. This is gosh, I'm having trouble thinking of I can't think of the name of the park. It's
Choke Canyon.
Thank you. Choke Canyon. Thank you. They've got a great bird blind there, and you get all these South Texas species, even though this is really on the edge of what would be called South Texas. This is a long-billed thrasher. Now, clearly, whoever named the long-billed thrasher had never seen a Crystal thrasher before, because it's by no means long billed, but there it is. It's very similar to a brown thrasher, but it has a gray head and really black, vivid spots and striping. Next. This is a sagebrush sparrow from Waco Tanks. No. It's from Fred Hervey water treatment plant. John Casita and I were driving around there, and this was for last winter, probably after the new year or something. And this bird was right outside my window, so I could get a decent photograph. That's a difficult bird to photograph because they run like mice. They just, and they don't like being photographed. I think he's saying something right there too, like, get out of my face. Next. This is an American white pelican, and I love this photograph. This is Escarate. He had stumbled in apparently and was resting up, disappeared later the same day, I think. But this shows the difference, but in size, they're huge. These are neotropic cormorants down below him. And, you know, that gives you a good impression of their size. And this must have been in the springtime because that knob on his bill is a breeding kind of thing. It's they get this big knob on their bill in breeding season, and I see that he's got some good breeding colors up in there. Next,
Very nice.
Lewis's woodpecker. I had been expecting, since the first one was found uphill in, I want to say October this year, found uphill, and I got some really crappy pictures of it. I'd been expecting a little bit of an eruption. It's really turned out to be a rather big eruption of Lewis's woodpeckers. There are 4 of these critters on the El Paso Country Club golf course. And John Sproul just refound one today, I saw. So they could be anywhere. Next. That's another view of, I like how it shows the red of the face there. Next. And again, this was the first day that I had seen these. And that first, I think this is all from the same day. And it's November 14th or something. I had long been expecting them there, and I decided to drive by running errands. And sure enough, I turned left onto Meadowlark, and one flew up out of a cottonwood tree, and I watched where he went, and I managed to get this photo and the other ones from the far side of the golf course on Fairway Lane. Next. This is a immature male broad-billed hummingbird from inside El Paso County. It's up in, I guess it's within Canutillo's city limits, maybe. It's in a private yard, was in a private yard, was there for quite some time. Condon got some great photos of this guy. That's my best shot. I like it because I can see some feather detail, and I can see the little red and the blue tail. That's pretty cool. Next, this is a suspicious vireo. Jim Payton thinks it's probably a blue-headed vireo, but he said, yeah, let's call it blue-headed / Cassins. And so I've taken care of that in eBirds. It really fits blue-headed a little bit better. Yes, the gradation between the white throat, that's good for blue-headed, and the blue head is not real strong, but that happens sometimes on blue-headed vireos. I think it's blue-headed. Barry Zimmer thought it was a blue-headed as well, but to satisfy all of the birding gods, we're calling it a Cassins / blue-headed. But in any event, it's extremely rare. This is December 6th, and vireos of any kind at that date. This has been a really weird fall with, as everybody knows, the leaves stayed on the trees a very long time. And so, you know, he's enjoying the weather. Next. Now, this is terribly blurry, but I like this shot because it shows 2 rare gulls hanging together. I love it. A little fraternity action here. Hey, we're both brown and those guys are white. Let's hang. And they do. This is a California gull in front. I don't know if you can see my cursor moving, but that's a California gull. And the gull behind it is a lesser black-backed gull. They're both first cycle gulls. And I must say, Gulling is some of the most frustrating birding I've ever done. I picked through so many ringbills to try to find the short bill, which I have not done yet, and I give up. Next. This is a California, okay, out in his natural abode at Keystone. The other one was on the parking lot at the racetrack. Next. Oh, good. I'm done. You're up, Kathy.
Okay. Ready when you are. That's one of our foxes that comes nightly to visit us.
Oh, nice.
So he actually, I think that's she, comes during the day also to visit, see if she could catch a white wing. It's a good reason to feed the white wings. Next. There she is, sleeping on the roof of our house. You can hear her walking around during the day. They go up there pretty frequently, but there she is catching a few Z's. Next. I found that great horned owl while I was out grilling, and he was watching me, watched me for a couple of days, and I haven't seen him since. Next. That's a little 5-striped squirrel down there in the corner. And I feed him peanuts. He's pretty happy. Next. The one on the right is a baby roadrunner, and the parent on the left. They came for quite a while. If you see, I gave them some worms out on the ground. They ate that whole pile of worms. Next. There's a better picture to show size difference, because the other looked pretty big, but same parent and child. Next. Thank you. That's one of the cactuses we bought at the Native Plant Society about 15 years ago. And when I first bought it, they said, oh, you know, you're supposed to step up cactuses, like move it to a little bit bigger pot, a little bit bigger pot, a little bit bigger pot. But not me. I put this little tiny cactus in a big pot, and that's what happened. Really quickly, by the way.
How often it flowers?
It flowers probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Wow.
And yeah, it came from a little tiny guy, and the one behind it also, little tiny guys in a big pot. So next. That's a tarantula. What was was it Bertha?
It was when Kevin and Vicky came to get frog fruit.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
No, because Richard was here. Anyway, that's a tarantula that we saw the day of Birdathon. Next. And what's that plant, Kevin? Kevin, are you there?
I think it looks great in your yard, right where it is, Kathy. No need to. Yeah, I still need to get some. Do you still have the stuff rooted?
Yeah, well, I've been worrying for you since the last meeting. So yes.
You're doing great.
But there's the tarantula. That's just look at how well he blends in there to the frog fruit. If you come and get it soon, maybe he'll be in it. Next.
Hi, everybody. So this was just a shot I enjoyed. Some of the pied bills over to Scar Day, and it was just a lot of youngsters, nice color on their heads this year. So it was just a nice day on the lake. Next. These were some of those Lawrence's goldfinches from actually this past spring over on Gardner Road when they were hanging out in the pecan fields and eating from the weedy vegetation underneath. Next, a shrike from actually a Escarde. I don't see him there all that often, but he was giving me the eye. Next, this I think was over on Rosemont. This not the current winter we're in, but earlier in the year, and bluebird that came down to drink from the puddle there. So just kind of pretty. Next, here is a sagebrush sparrow, and this had to be either Carlitos Road in not far outside Las Cruces, or at this wouldn't have been the sod farms in New Mexico. I think it was either there or Fred Hervey, the Fort Bliss Ponds. Once again, giving me the stink eye. Next, this was definitely on Rosemont when I was there for some other bird. It might have been loose as woodpecker, but nice male vermilion flycatcher on the golf course fence. Next. These are some of these antelope, Texas antelope squirrels that we have across the way on the boulders at the temple. For the people that know our house, we live across from the Mount Sinai Temple, and they used to have a really well vegetated hillside with lots of pine trees and other things. And when we had the big frost about 10 years ago now, a lot of trees died or died subsequently. But we still have our little antelope squirrels, and there's a parent teaching a lesson of some sort to one of its youngsters. They were pretty prolific this year. I think we saw at least 6 youngsters at one time and 2 parents. Go ahead.
Oh, nice.
This is from Escarde, and I just really like stiff-tailed ducks, ruddy ducks. They're pretty nice. Even though recently, when a number of us went out to try to find the surf scoter at Escarde, one of the things was, okay, find a duck that doesn't have a tail sticking up, but all these ducks were sleeping, and it was really, really hard. Even though a couple of people got really good shots of the surf scoter, I just sort of got part of the cheek, and you could tell that's what it was, but it wasn't a great shot. So anyway, I like ruddy ducks. They're great. They do lots of head bobbing and sort of whimsical noises when they're doing breeding displays and head bobs to females. So just pretty birds, especially males that time of year with that blue bill. Next. Yeah, I think this was at, this could have been Fort Bliss Ponds. So burrowing owls, for those of you who go out and see them fairly often, them giving you a look like that is so common. They just happen to have this look that says, you mean nothing to me, take my picture, go ahead, I dare you. And they're just cool little guys. And Escarde, over the past couple of years, has turned into a real magnet for them. In the past year, Lois and I got the county parks people to put some protection around one nest. They made a little exclosure for them. They put some chain link against another one, and had a banner year. I think I might have had up to 27 in the park at 5 or 6 nest sites this year. And as of my visit last week, I think we still had 11, and one burrow had 6 birds. So the 2 adults and the 4 youngsters. Next.
Oh, nice.
This was over at the Fort Bliss Ponds, and when we were out checking the little cement, sometimes funky ponds, I saw some that from a distance looked like it was trash on the line, that had gotten caught up in a black plastic bag, and it was this lesser nighthawk, and it was just a really cool sighting. I hadn't seen one sitting sideways on like a utility line or anything for a really long time. So I thought it was a pretty cool thing to look at. Lighting was horrible. I was trying not to scare the bird. I was walking from all different directions, really, really slowly, trying to get something that looked half decent. And this was the best I could do, but I did not want to scare the bird off his perch. So I was satisfied with it. It was pretty nice. Next. This is also at the Fort Bliss Ponds. It was just sort of an overcast day, and there was this peregrine with the mountains, in the background there. So I just enjoyed looking at it. Next.
That's a nice shot.
This is just one of our typical Chihuahuan desert denizens. This was at the sod farms, I think a Swainson's hawk during the summer months before they disappear and go back down to the neotropics. So just one of our locals. Next. This was at Escarde, and I really worked hard to get this photo. If you can see the leaves sort of surrounding the osprey's head, I had to work really, really hard. And again, I was trying not to scare the bird at all. So I really liked getting that shot. Next. I like the shot just because it's a non-typical great blue heron shot. We're used to seeing them with their heads, straight out, and they're standing up tall, their necks are straight. And I just liked it because he was all tucked in on one of the golf course bridges. Next. And this was the black-legged kittiwake that you've seen some other photos of. And I like this shot just because when people first found the bird this fall, it seemed to be really hungry from the time when it first landed, like it was going after, like typical park guest food or something else was going on. So I actually went out there one day with some fish and actually got a little bit of it to it. So that made me feel good. I don't usually do stuff like that, but for some of these rare birds that we've gotten this year, like Star showed the picture of the yellow-billed loon, that was a bird that seemed to be doing well, got caught up in fishing line. We ended up doing a nighttime venture. Scott and Lois and the head of the game wardens here in our section for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and we went out and we were actually able to get it at night and bring it back to the zoo. Vicky was able to get all the fishing line off of it. They did some x-ray work, they did some other things, and the bird was released and seemed to be fine. And that was a bird that hadn't been found in the county before. So that was cool. So my good deed for the year was right there. Next.
All right. So, okay. Okay, these are all pictures that I took in northern Tanzania. We were there about a month ago. I usually go once a year to Africa for fish, usually on Lake Tanganyika or Lake Malawi. But lately I'm more interested in birds. So we added a few days birding, and it's very rich in bird species. We had over 200 species of birds in 5 days. So this is the auger buzzard, a quite common raptor there. Next is a small heron that's closely related to our green heron. It's the same size, but it's all blue. Kind of common around water. Next. Yeah, there are many different hornbills in Tanzania and East Africa. This is the silvery-cheeked hornbill. And they were in a park, Lake Manyara National Park. And this bird is about 2 feet tall. It's a big bird. And there was one tree, there were 17 of them in one tree. It's really an impressive bird. Only the males have that silvery stripe between the eye and the bill.
Next. This is a white-browed cuckoo. It's a cuckoo, kind of common. It usually runs on the ground looking for some lizards or other prey items. Only rarely it comes off the ground like this time. Next. Yeah, sunbirds are the equivalent of our hummingbirds here in Africa. They're very colorful. This is probably the most common in East Africa, the variable sunbird. Females are just grayish green, but the males have a lot of iridescent coloration. Next. This is probably one of the most beautiful birds in the world, at least what I have seen, is the lilac-breasted roller. It's a pretty big bird, I would say a foot long. But when it flies off, the wings are this really iridescent light blue and dark blue pattern on the wings. It's really spectacular to see that bird. Next. The white-browed robin-chat is it's a kind of flycatcher of the new world, the old world, and it's kind of common. It usually moves around in underbrush and on the ground mostly. Rarely flies up into the trees. Next. There's a really beautiful bird, superb starling, but this is one of the most common birds. You see them in town and everywhere where you take a lunch break, you see that bird around, but it's still a very beautiful bird. It's a little bit bigger than our starling or the Eurasian starling we have here. Next. Bee eaters. There's 3 or 4 species, kind of common. This one you find in the mountains is the cinnamon-chested bee eater. And when you see one, there's usually more around. They nest in the sides of the road or in river banks. And there's usually 5 or a dozen of these birds in the area. Beautiful birds. Next. Is even more common, the little bee eater that you find almost everywhere. Usually it flies up a little bit, a few feet, and catches an insect and comes back to the same perch. And it sits there for half an hour before it switches to another perch. Next. Another sunbird, a little bit bigger than the variable, is the bronze sunbird, also kind of common. This was taken at a lodge where we stayed, and there were many of these sunbirds around. He's sitting on the flower of a banana. Next. Yeah, this is really a sexy bird. It's pretty big. With the tail, I would say it's 1.5 feet. It's a big bird. And it pokes its bill in nooks and crannies of the tree. And sometimes it's upside down, but it's really a beautiful bird. When it flies, the wings have white pattern. It's so blue wings with white spots on it. It's really spectacular bird. Next. Yeah, francolins, there's a number of them. They're difficult to tell apart. And this was probably a female with a chick just rummaging along the road. We just stopped the car and took some photos. They were not really afraid of. A lot of these birds are used to people, to tourists trafficking in those parks. Next. Also a very nice bird, a very small bird, but the males have a very long tail. The African paradise flycatcher. I have seen it along the lake on the west side of Tanzania, but also in northern Tanzania and in Kenya, you you can see this flycatcher. Females look a bit like it, but they don't have a long tail, but they do have this cinnamon colored feathers and wings. Next. Also beautiful bird, they eat termites. So you find this one near termite nest. It's a barbet, a red and yellow barbet. We saw 2 of them. They are not very shy. We could get from the car, I could get close shots of this bird. Really beautiful bird, feeding, specialized on termites. Next. And that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Odd. And just as a teaser, we've asked him to do a presentation on a full presentation on his trip. So we're going to get a lot of Africa presentations this year for Audubon. So I'm horribly organized with my pictures. So I just, when it's like, oh, pictures, I go to my first folder for January and open it up and see what's there. This was a gray catbird that was hanging out at the museum it was there through the fall, and we were lucky it stuck around until January 1st so we could include it on the Christmas bird count. One of the sapsuckers, red-naped sapsuckers. One of the better pictures. An angry black-throated sparrow. John must have been with us because it was giving me the stink eye. One of the redheads at Ascaridae. Ascaridae is just such a great place because the birds are not that scared of you, and you can get some really nice shots of them. Green-winged teal out at Keystone. Keystone's also another nice evening, late afternoon spot for photography. I'm going to claim this is artistic and on purpose. These are just a bunch of blurry yellow-headed blackbirds. That's definitely a challenge, is getting pictures that sort of convey the like spectacle of the thousands of yellow-headed that come in and roosted in the evenings. They are back. We were out there a few weeks ago, and they are back and impressive. So when you're done looking through immature gulls, you can enjoy seeing murmurations of blackbirds. This was a snipe. This was the field, the canal near the, is it Rosemont Gardner? The field that had all the bluebirds last winter, that had mountain and western and an eastern and vermilion flycatchers, and then along that canal there were, I think, like 3 snipe fairly visible, which snipe are not something that are often very visible. So it was pretty cool to see little flying footballs. Gadwall, I feel like I probably include one every time, because gadwall definitely fall under that like nondescript duck when I first started birding, and then the more you start learning, or the more I started learning the ducks, I'm like, man, gadwall are so pretty. Just the fine detail on the feathers, just that, I don't know, it's a subtle beauty, I guess. One of the Gamble's quail, again, bad lighting, I guess that makes it artistic, right? This was up at the country club. Avert your eyes if you're offended easily. These are some Cooper's hawks making more Cooper's hawks, which it's fairly unusual to see more than one. So seeing them mating was pretty cool. Definitely worth standing in the parking lot, making people confused. This is the 3-headed cinnamon teal at Keystone. Another, how can you go wrong with cinnamon teal? Northern Harrier out at Rio Bosque. This was one, I mean, you almost always just see them soaring around, and this one was actually perched near one of the burrowing owl burrows, and stood there for a little while. So it's one of the nicer views I've had of one. This was a Grace's warbler out at Memorial. One of the unusual birds from the spring, I think. I don't think we had it in the fall. we had that really great fall migration last year with all the unusual birds, and then kind of stuck around a little bit through the spring, and then this this fall was kind of a, like John said, a weird one that I guess hasn't fully ended yet. This is a really bad picture, but I really like the spot. This is the Horizon reverse osmosis ponds that I think Michael Harvey, who's one of the new UTEP professors, about a year or two new UTEP professors, discovered just by looking on Google Earth for water. And this is out near the high school, Horizon High School. It's like evaporation ponds for their reverse osmosis concentrate. And I've always seen eared grebes at Ascaridae in the winter. I'm like, man, I really would like to see one in breeding plumage, but they're always gone from Ascaridae in the summer when they're in breeding plumage. And they hang out at these reverse osmosis ponds in Horizon, along with phalaropes. That's where John had the red phalarope, and lots of Wilsons, and just a really interesting area. It's chain link all the way around and a road. So as far as we can tell, it's accessible. There's no sign saying you can't go up to the fence. So a cool spot. There were some interesting gulls and terns, and just, I guess when things are flying over, it's a big spot of water for them to check out. And this is my teaser photo. So these are vulturine guinea fowl. This is from Kenya. This is when Vic and I were in Africa. So you had Julio's pictures last month. You're going to get our pictures for January, and then more of Odd's pictures for sometime that we haven't settled on yet, sometime working around his other travels. So at the end of this, everyone's going to be figuring out what visas are required and flights and everything, and we'll have a big trip out to Kenya and Tanzania as a group. So that's it. So thank you, everybody. I think this was a great pictures. Yeah, and so just as a heads up, the plan is to do in-person and virtual, so do a hybrid system for January, and to continue that going forward. I know some people really like having the virtual option of not having to drive to UTEP or drive at night, or just be able to have a glass of wine while you're watching. So we're going to try doing in person. The in-person part we'll have to see. Yeah. We'll have to see what's going on with public health system. But with any luck, we'll be able to go back face to face, but also keep a virtual option for everybody. So be as inclusive as possible. And that'll be the third Monday of January.
Cool.
Oh, light it up.
All right. Ho, ho, ho.
Thanks,
Oh,
everybody.
that's right.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Where did it go?
I don't
Merry
know.
Christmas.
There we go.
Yeah, we need to have an in-person option here. This the full effect. Yeah.
Merry
It's
Christmas.
a better
Good thing is this is being recorded.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Mhm.